Hello. This video's somewhat a bit different to my normal ones. Oh, it isn't because I did one a little bit back, I think a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two ago, where I was talking about megacon games and what was happening with Myth. Megacon Games decided they were selling off Myth because things had gone on long enough and people weren't getting what they were, owed from the Kickstarter and whatnot. And then there's NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, with whoever it is who's buying it, and excuse me, and other such things. That included the Dark Frontiers board game they did. We've had a bit more news, and mostly bad, but a little bit good, depends on your point of view and your opinion, I suppose. Megacon Games, from what I can tell, is shutting up shop. I don't know when, nobody knows when, obviously, because NDNA sort of thing. But the latest update on the Myth Journeyman expansion Kickstarter was basically them admitting that Megacon Games is dying a slow death, and I unfortunately will have to agree. They opened too many Kickstarters way too quickly, and even in their own words, they've got the ideas, it's just the business side of things they're not that great at, and the talking about explaining the games, shall we say, they're not that great at, which yeah, Brian, you weren't that good at talking about your games, unfortunately. You had the ideas, you really had the ideas. I mean, you look at Myth, you look at Mercs, you look at Imogen's event, I think I've pronounced that properly. I always have a problem with that. They're really good games. The ideas are there, the originality is there, it's all there. It's just the business side of things and communication side of things a little bit lacking, unfortunately. So they've decided they're gonna mainly do modelling side of things, creating miniatures and whatnot. I'd imagine that's what it means, either for another company or do not just the model side of things rather than the game side of things, like Black Scorpion Miniatures does. They've got their own little game, but they mainly put models out for sort of like £5 and whatever sort of price, resin ones, and you can just use them in whatever game you want, essentially. And if Megacon Games are going to go either that road or either go for the road of working for a bigger company, or a different company should I say, yeah, fair enough. They've got the skill to make whatever model, I'd imagine, whoever they're going to do stuff for wants. But yeah, they are going to finish the Kickstarters, the stretch goals and whatnot. Have each stretch goal and whatnot done in its own separate one lump job. So the Emigrants event expansion Kickstarter, one lump. Next lump for the Myth Journeyman Kickstarter thing, another lump, and so on and so forth. And they did say on the update they are opening up the address thing on the Kickstarter thing, so you can change the address, which for some people, me included, for different reason, is a great thing, especially now. Yeah, not really much to talk about in this video, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing Mercs in 2012, was it 2012? I think it was 2012. Mercs was, before then, my biggest game was 40k, but then when Mercs came along, it just exploded. We tried with 2 teams of 40k models, using the miniatures that way, and you know, trying the rules out and then getting some proper models, the bases, you know, getting the proper measuring devices and whatnot for the game. It was really well done, and it still is. It's just a shame it's come to this, and I can kind of see why. It's just they haven't got the communications and presence anywhere else, and it's just unfortunate. I mean, they got a fair amount of help from Beasts of War with Mercs and Myth, you know, basically advertising their games, because Megacon Games kind of wasn't, unfortunately. And that global campaign they did, yeah, neither Beast of War or Megacon Games did much with it. I mean, it was supposed to be a global campaign, and no one knew where to post the wins and losses or anything, from what I could see. No one could see who won until someone put, I think it was on Board Game Geek, I'm not sure now, someone put somewhere on some forum that CCC, with a bit of backing from FCC House 9, had won, and Sadafu had lost. That's just basically it for the global campaign, the Paradigm Shift campaign. I mean, I'm glad it got some background fluff in the second edition rulebook, but you know, that's just that, I suppose. So yeah, what I will say is I suppose you could say the Megacon community, but it's mainly the Mercs community holding up the other games, I suppose. Basically, anyone who's followed Megacon Games, there's only been a small majority, so small you wouldn't even notice it, that's been a pain. I mean, you look out there at some of the communities like 40k, Warhammer, some of the larger games, and you have some people that are just completely and utterly offensive, and just, those communities do not need those sort of people. No one needs them sorts of people, as far as I'm concerned. And with Megacon Games, you didn't get that. People were impatient. People did do a lot of negative criticism, but that's fair, really. I mean, you got to take it on the chin, and fair play to Megacon Games, they did. I mean, they admitted where their flaws were, and they've tried to make themselves better and tried to learn from their mistakes. But the one mistake I don't think they learned from was, don't push out so much stuff onto Kickstarter at once. Finish one thing before another. It's like this weird saying I've heard somewhere: finish your vegetables before working on that cake. You know, you need to finish your greens. But it comes a number of questions. Will there be any more Mercs Emergence Event Myth? And the short answer to that is nobody knows. I mean, Myth has been sold off, so that's possibly going to come back in a new form, I'd imagine. Looking maybe a bit different, packaged a lot different perhaps, game playing a lot different, who knows. Will Mercs come back? Maybe. I mean, Mercs is where it needs to be with skirmish wargaming, because skirmish wargaming is the big thing nowadays. I know 40k 8th edition is, you know, back in favour, back in fashion, as it were. But, you know, skirmish games are still really the big thing nowadays. And large-scale war games, where they do have their place, it's the skirmish wargaming that is still up there, as far as I can see. And Mercs has got the potential to be there with some of the best and biggest war games, the skirmish ones, like Malifaux and Infinity, to name two. But you know, if they sell them that off to someone, we'll just have to see. An emergence event, I really can't see that making a comeback after the expansion. After the expansion, Kickstarter's been fulfilled. That's the end of that as far as I can see. The Banner Saga board game, same thing really. And Dumpster Diver, that got fulfilled, but forget that. I don't think no one's going to buy that as far as I can see. Someone might. I mean, I'd imagine it's cheap enough to buy. So yeah. Will I do any more coverage of Mercs? I might do bits here and there. The main coverage of Merc stuff's pretty much done, effectively. I might do a few now and again. But, like I said, the main coverage is done. And unless another company comes out, buys Mercs, and makes it different, you know, makes some new models, which I'm going to have to buy, aren't I? Do some new rules, makes it play different. There's not really much to cover, unfortunately. So, yeah. Put in the comments below, who do you think's going to buy it? Is this the right way for them to go? Do you think this is where they've been for a long time? I know a lot of people have thought that. What did you think of Megacon Games as a whole? Yeah, so I'll say this for Megacon Games. Thank you for making some of the most original war game / board game stuff I have ever played and bought. I'm glad to have been a part of the fan base, the community as it was, and I hope I still am, really. Even if the site goes off, I'm sure the Facebook pages and whatnot will still go on. I know I've got a small one, the Mansfield one, Mansfield and District Megacon Games group, or whatever I've called it, which I'll need to redesign if I want. Well, I'll have to, really. And well, yeah, thank you to Megacon Games for making the games, and thank you to the community to keep it going and putting your own flavour on things, and you know, keeping the game alive. And to anywhere that's had Mercs in Europe and UK for us to buy. I know Whaling Games, when Mercs was in its early stages, sold a fair bit of Merc stuff. They were kind of the in point in the UK to get Merc stuff in the UK. And at the start, they weren't too bad. I mean, I got all of the metal stuff apart from one, and that was E-Wink. I got FCC House 4. Everything else that was in the first edition stuff I got from Whaling Games. So in the early stages they weren't too bad. They weren't too bad at all. It's just later on you could tell. But like I say, thank you to the community, to Megacon Games themselves for everything with the game, and whatever you do, Brian, whatever you do, Keith, and everyone else that's still there at Megacon, I hope you do well. I hope you do well, because regardless of how these Kickstarters have gone down, and I know it's been so hard from both sides, like the people who's kickstarted the games and Megacon Games, it's been hard on both sides. The patience and the patience and the actual making stuff and keeping people updated and making sure everything's right. I'd imagine it's been hard on both sides as far as I can see. But once everything's filled out, I hope you guys who's been at Megacon Games, I hope you guys are going to be sorted out all right. because you've got the ideas, you've got the artwork, you've got the ability. You have the talent in hobby business. If you actually do the artwork and the model side of things, but you're really good at that, and I hope you get going, either at another company or starting off at something else. So yeah, that's that, I suppose. It's been the end of a surprising yet awkward, engaging and interesting small era, I suppose, of Mercs and Megacon games. This will go up on multiple pages, playlists that I've got, I suppose, mainly the Mercs one and some of the others, I suppose. If you're interested in any of the Megacon games and just a fan of them in general, share this video as much as you can if you don't know the update, which I'd imagine everyone who's a fan of them does. But if you don't, if you know someone who doesn't and who's a fan, share this video as much as you can so people know that Megacon Games is pretty much over. Officially, we don't know when, but yeah. So with a bit of a heavy heart, that's it for now. Thank you to everyone who's watched the Mercs Emergence event and any other videos to do with any of Megacon Games and stuff. Goodbye for now.